Who are the people that we want to kick out of society? Let's find out, starting with number 7, Selena Powell. Social media influencer Selena Powell received a 2-year prison sentence when she violated the terms of her probation from an arrest for driving the getaway vehicle in a theft ring. Powell failed to comply with court-mandated substance tests and was arrested when she failed to show up for a court date. Powell rose to fame with her YouTube channel, where she detailed her experiences with famous rap stars. Powell claimed to be the other woman in Snoop Dogg's marriage to his wife, accused Offset of impregnating her during an affair, alleged Trey Songz committed misconduct, and said that Drake changed his number when Powell wouldn't stop sending him explicit images of herself. She sounds like a real catch. Powell made several appearances on the popular No Jumper podcast, where she talked about her affairs. But text messages between Powell and Drake surfaced online, where Drake said he never gave the influencer his number and wanted nothing to do with her. Powell also later admitted to lying about being pregnant with Offset's child. Powell was eventually arrested for being the getaway driver of a theft ring and was sentenced to 24 months of probation. She had just 1 month to go before her probation ended, but rather than lay low and wait for it to be over, she violated its terms, resulting in her 2-year prison sentence. Number 6, The Puncher. Alfred Lewis, this teenager from Texas, admitted to randomly decking random people in public to gain social media attention. Surprise, surprise, more stupid people doing stupid things for the likes. The random crimes were videoed at Wortham Park in Houston and rightfully outraged among park visitors. Lewis confessed that he committed the crimes to get likes and views for his YouTube and TikTok channels. The video, which was shared on the Neighborhood Watch app next door, led to a police investigation. The victims in the video appeared startled but didn't fight back. Lewis's crimes are just one more part of the trend among teenagers who resort to being complete jerks just for the views. You'd think this sort of stuff would lead to a bigger discussion about how far we're willing to go for social media fame and who should be held responsible. Lewis said he didn't expect the situation to escalate as it did, and emphasized that the video only showed the bad part of his actions, and said that he shook hands and hugged the victims afterward. Which is hard to believe, because why wouldn't you show that in your video too? Lewis also said that others shouldn't do the same things and seemed surprised by the harsh reaction to his video, and made him think that maybe just randomly hitting people was not a good idea. We're supposed to be listening to this guy for advice? Lewis described the whole ordeal as a prank that got out of control and dismissed any responsibility by saying that everyone makes mistakes, which makes us also think he doesn't really know what words like prank mean, nor was he actually realizing that wasn't something he should do. And the weirdest thing is that these likes aren't even real. Anyone watching that happen in person isn't going to be like, "That's awesome, Alfred. Take that random guy out." Okay, well, maybe some people, but the number of people who liked the video and the number of those same people who would applaud him in person are not the same. Number 5, the Wheelchair Bandits. A gang of robbers targeted a disabled man in a motorized wheelchair at a gas station in the Settegast district of Houston, Texas. The elderly victim was shopping at a convenience store when one of the robbers noticed him grabbing money out of his bag. Later, the suspect returned to the store's parking lot with 2 accomplices, seemingly scanning the station forecourt for their vulnerable target. One of the assailants silently crept up behind the victim, grabbed the man's bag, and ran away. Houston police released the security footage, shedding light on the alarming increase in purse-snatching incidents in the city. Mayor Sylvester Turner expressed concern about the rise of crime in the city. In 2023, shoplifting is up 14.4%, pickpocketing is up 28.2%, and stolen property offenses is up a whopping 87.9% from 2022. So stay out of Houston for now, everyone. It's a cesspool of petty crime. This incident is just another example of this weird trend of people going after disabled people and the elderly. Security footage captured a disabled woman being robbed in her wheelchair after withdrawing cash from an ATM. Also, a paraplegic man was still hit even after giving all of his money to a robber. In another incident, a would-be robber targeted a man in a wheelchair outside a metro station in Midtown, but the robber picked the wrong guy since the guy was armed. We're surprised that this doesn't happen more because it's Texas, right? Maybe it's the whole if you know most people are armed, you're a lot more polite to them type of deal. But what we do know is that petty crime probably is not a good idea in a place where everyone's carrying. Number 4, the Stalker. A woman named Jessica Nordquist was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for her stalking campaign against her ex-boyfriend, Mark Weeks. The whole weird ordeal began after their relationship ended. Nordquist, for whatever reason, claimed she was pregnant because nothing fixes a messed up short-term relationship like a baby, right? She even bought a fake baby bump on Amazon to really make it look like she was. We're not sure what the end game here was since pregnancies aren't an indefinite thing. Apparently, neither did Nordquist, since she also created fake email accounts sending messages to Mark alleging she had been kidnapped and that the kidnappers had their way with her. She then sent him photos of herself tied to a bed as evidence. Mark got the messages from anonymous numbers, stressing him out like crazy. Even if the breakup was ugly, you still don't want to see something bad happen to an ex. As things escalated, Mark said he started feeling unsafe in his own home, constantly on edge and always looking over his shoulder, fearing that someone might be watching him. The relentless stalking tactics included Nordquist setting up over 20 fake Instagram accounts to spread false claims about her ex-boyfriend. Nordquist's elaborate scheme reached a peak when her kidnapping led to a nationwide search. She was eventually found safe in Scotland, further unraveling the web of lies she had woven. In court, Nordquist was described as intelligent, resourceful, and well-educated, but with a troubling past that may have contributed to her behavior. Nordquist was convicted of her charges, resulting in a total jail term of 4.5 years. Of course, she was issued a restraining order preventing her from contacting her ex. Number 3, the Saboteur. Jennifer Ju-Yen Lee was ordered to pay her ex-boyfriend Eric Abramovitz $375,000 Canadian dollars in compensation for sabotaging his clarinet career. Abramovitz, an accomplished clarinetist, had applied to complete his degree under Yehuda Gilad, a renowned clarinet professor at Colburn School in Los Angeles, a prestigious institution affiliated with the University of Southern California. Abramovitz and Lee had met at McGill University, where they were both music students. Abramovitz's relationship with Lee was great until it took a weird and devastating turn when Lee intercepted an email from Colburn School offering Abramovitz a spot in the program with a full scholarship. Instead of letting Abramovitz know about the acceptance, she declined the offer on his behalf, claiming he would be studying elsewhere. Lee took it a step further and created a fake email account in Gilad's name to send Abramovitz a modified offer, purportedly from Gilad himself. This fake email offered Abramovitz a spot at USC, but with a minimal scholarship of $5,000, and he would have to cover tuition fees of approximately $46,000 and living expenses, a financial burden he couldn't afford. Abramovitz was completely unaware of Lee's scheme, thinking he had been rejected from Colburn School. As a result, he missed out on a unique opportunity to study under Gilad, a setback that profoundly impacted his career. Eventually, Abramovitz learned about Lee's deception when he had a strange encounter with Gilad during another audition. Gilad asked Abramovitz why he rejected the offer, confusing Abramovitz. So he decides to investigate further, finding out what Lee did. Feeling betrayed and robbed of a significant chance to advance his musical career, Abramovitz took his ex to court. The damages awarded to Abramovitz covered the loss of educational opportunity and income resulting from Lee being selfish and weird. Whether or not she actually paid it is a whole other story. To be honest, it seems a bit of a low amount to us. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Number 2, Miss Unaccountable. Daniela Leese, a Canadian woman, went to a Marilyn Manson concert at the Budweiser Gardens Arena in London, Ontario. After drinking too much at the concert, she got behind the wheel of her father's Ford Fusion. While driving home, Leese crashed into a brick house, rupturing a gas line in the process. The impact triggered a massive explosion, destroying not only the house she crashed into, but also causing extensive damage to 3 neighboring homes. The resulting explosion and subsequent fires led to injuries for 7 people, including 2 police officers. officers and 2 firefighters. The financial impact of the incident has been significant, with numerous people suffering injuries and extensive property damage. The total damages caused by the explosion were estimated to be between $9.8 and $14.7 million. One firefighter had to spend more than a week in the hospital due to injury sustained during the response. Daniela Lease pleaded guilty to 4 counts of impaired driving, leading to her receiving a 3-year prison sentence. Despite her conviction, Daniela and her father, Sean Lease, filed a lawsuit against Ovations Ontario Food Services, the company responsible for distributing alcohol at the concert venue. Why? Because the company, who was serving all the people at the concert, were somehow responsible. In their lawsuit, the Lease family alleges that Ovations Ontario Food Services shares liability for the explosion. They said that the venue staff failed to prevent Daniela from driving home while intoxicated. She was old enough to drink, not be responsible, you know? Those are 2 different things. Her being responsible for herself was Ovation's job, obviously. The bar's employees allegedly ejected Lease from the venue without making sure she wouldn't drive in the state she was in, which was apparently drunk. The lawsuit further accuses Ovations of serving alcohol to Lease despite being aware of her intoxication, prioritizing profit over safety. The Lease family says that Ovation's negligence and breach of duty contributed to the explosion and its aftermath. As part of their claim, they said that the liquor distributor should be held responsible for any awards or judgments resulting from the multiple court claims filed against them by the victims of the incident. If required to pay any amount, the Lease family believes they're entitled to contribution and indemnity from Ovations Ontario Food Services. At what point does Danielle Lease stop thinking that everyone should have to babysit her? It's possible that she was overserved, but at a venue like that, it's difficult to expect the people serving beer to be able to take the time to check on her. No one is responsible for you other than you. At the end of the day, we're just glad no one lost their lives. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned right here to find out how this cop was caught shoplifting. Number 1. The purse. In Perth, Australia, a pregnant mother of twins was just going about her day when a 15-year-old girl, whose name we don't have because of her age, decided she wanted the mom's purse. Pregnant mom was walking and minding her own business when the teenager, who was riding a scooter, came from behind and went to town on the mom. Poor lady fell to the ground and desperately tried to hold on to her stroller, but it toppled over during her incident, leaving her young twins completely exposed. The incident was all captured on video, and despite the mother's efforts to protect her kids, the teenager continued. The CCTV footage was shared on social media, and reasonable thinking people were pretty upset about it. But there's a good part about everything being caught on video and being shared on social media. The police were able to find and arrest the teenager and charge her with robbery thanks to the footage. Video before the incident showed the teenager riding a scooter down the sidewalk behind another girl. The other girl was also arrested as part of the early investigation, but wasn't charged. Thankfully, the mom ended up with only a few cuts and bruises. And why did all this happen? Because the girl wanted her purse. There's footage of the girl getting arrested too, her acting like an idiot while her family is crying in the background. As far as we know, the children, the unborn baby, and the mom are doing okay. And it's bad enough that this even happened, but the lady was literally pushing a stroller. Clearly, there's stuff going on with that girl, and hopefully this is a wake-up call to figure out whatever is wrong. Here are a few shoplifters who aren't very good at what they do. Number 10. The business card. Matthew Crowder ran a Facebook page where he posted pictures from what he called raids. These raids were Crowder speak for shoplifting. In his posts, he bragged about pampering his family with the spoils of his conquests. Crowder made it sound like he was slaying dragons for these items when in reality, he was committing petty theft. In 2016, Crowder's poor decision-making came full circle. He walked into another consignment store looking to raid valuable loot. This time, the only treasure that caught his eye was standing behind the counter. The petty thief flirted with the cute cashier. After a moment of conversation, he gave the clerk his business card. Crowder then went back to business as usual and finished his raid. Once the store realized what had happened, they called the police. Thankfully, Crowder did all the work for them. This business-minded burglar left behind a card with his name and address on it. On top of that, he immediately took to Facebook to brag about what he shoplifted. Unfortunately for him, his biggest fans that day were police officers. Officer Dobrik of the Albuquerque Police said it wasn't a surprise because the guys who commit these crimes are usually dumb. He also said to all businesses in the area that if Crowder walks into their store, he's only there to rip them off. Crowder had outstanding warrants for shoplifting in 3 other Albuquerque counties. Number 9. The Magnet Thief. Would-be magnet thief Nicholas Allegretto basically turned himself in when he waltzed into a Cambridge police station to complain about a store owner. Allegretto told police that his image had been used to defame him and cause his family turmoil. His boss saw the picture and fired him on the spot. When the authorities investigated the situation further, Allegretto was promptly arrested. Turns out, he walked into a hardware store and after pretending to shop for a bit, decided to pocket a valuable magnet. He was stopped as he headed towards the exit and workers took the magnet back. Allegretto, though, got away. Angry about the shoplifter, the owner made a wanted poster with Allegretto's face on it and put it up in his store. He also posted it to Facebook and the local papers, which was how Allegretto's friends and family recognized him. Feeling like he had been wronged, the magnet-loving crook thought it would be wise to tell the police. After his arrest, Allegretto was hit with over $1,000 in fines. The shopkeeper couldn't believe Allegretto walked into a police station. He told reporters that Allegretto wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. Number 8. Grandma had enough. In Campbell River, Canada, the local Walmart has a high volume of calls to the authorities. They seem to be a popular target for shoplifters who are willing to do anything to take what they want. One day, somebody's grandma decided she'd had enough. The whole incident was recorded by a man following the criminal. The video starts with the shoplifter ahead of him trying to take his unbagged goods out of the store. When the would-be criminal grabbed his bike, the man with the phone asked him if he was going to pay for his stuff. The shoplifter responded with a "yeah" while he continued towards the door. However, little did he know, a lone vigilante was already on top of him. Like a giant G appeared in the sky, Grandma pushed her cart in front of the thief and scolded him. Before he could react, Granny grabbed his mask and tore it off. Even with his face exposed, he still tried to take the cart. However, seemingly emboldened by Grandma's bravery, the cameraman grabbed the criminal's cart. After a brief struggle, he let go of the carriage and opted for his backpack instead. The thief rode off empty-handed with nothing but shame after Grandma thwarted his pathetic robbery attempt. Number 7. The Purse. In Hillsboro, Oregon, Sarah Michelle Jarvis struggled with a man over her purse. She yanked on it desperately, trying to pull it from his grasp. However, the man's strength was too much for Sarah, and she was clearly fighting a losing battle. It sounds like the opening scene to a Marvel movie, but not everything is always as it seems. In a now viral YouTube video, the altercation kicks off with Sarah and a seemingly random man struggling over a purse at Rite Aid. Sarah had stashed some product in her bag, and a loss and prevention employee caught her red-handed. He chased her into the parking lot and then dragged her back into the store by her purse straps. The situation escalated when Sarah started kicking and punching him. That wasn't a good idea, and he took her to the ground. She flopped and kicked around for a bit before jumping back to her feet and releasing the purse. She tried to leave, but walked right into a waiting officer's arms. The first question that comes to mind is, why didn't she just let the purse go and run? The man was clearly much stronger, and she had no chance of leaving with the bag. While we can only speculate, the reason seems obvious if you listen closely to the beginning of their struggle. Sarah told the loss prevention officer that he shouldn't take people's purses or their Percocets. The want for her drugs could explain why she fought so hard for the bag and her erratic behavior. Even with the video evidence, the charges were dropped and she walked away scot-free. Number 6. TV for Nowhere. John Ray Lomack is a name steeped in infamy at a Target in downtown Seattle. The homeless man was marked as a prolific shoplifter. He gained this title by hitting the same store over 20 times and getting away with around $6,000 worth of products. In the previous incidents, he even hurt some employees while escaping with his ill-gotten gains. This prompted Target to ban him from the store and instructed employees to call the police if he showed his face. This didn't stop this confident criminal as he walked in again with a mask covering his face. He was still recognized though, and the cops were called as he was obviously scoping out a 70-inch TV. Lomack headed straight for the exit with the oversized TV on his cart, but security met him at the door. They didn't fight with him, but they did grab the TV and stopped him from pulling it outside. What ensued was a struggle straight out of a late-night comedy sketch. Lomack pulled the TV from different angles while the employees steadily pulled it back. He eventually made it outside and after a short rest, dragged his prize down the street. Lomack's victory was short-lived as the employees found 2 cops and pointed them in his direction. When confronted by the officers, the homeless man put up a struggle but was apprehended and taken to jail. Despite an overwhelming record of 18 felony convictions, the judge released Lomack with no consequences. Number 5. Marshall's Robber. In an arrest that looked more like a WWE match, Franklin Nunez fought off 2 officers as he desperately tried to escape from the marshals he chose to rob. The officers arrived on the scene to confront Nunez after employees called 911. Before a recent policy change, employees had to wait 30 minutes after witnessing a shoplifting attempt to call 911. You could argue that policy was in place to avoid in-store confrontation. After all, security cameras probably caught them in the act anyway. Nonetheless, the policy got a facelift and employees could call 911 on a shoplifting attempt in progress. Some of the patrons recorded Nunez's handicap match with police and posted it to many social media sites. In the video, you can see Nunez stiff-arm one officer while fending off another. They eventually bring him down, where the struggle continues. Some sources report that Nunez appeared to be going for the officer's weapon in the video, although there's no confirmation. Nunez rises up like the Undertaker and shakes off both officers as he runs out the door. This seemingly superhuman shoplifter was only caught after 10 more officers showed up. Number 4. New York Shoplifting King. Isaac Rodriguez found out how heavy the proverbial crown is after becoming the shoplifting king of New York. Like a reverse Robin Hood, surrounded by concrete and only taking for himself, Rodriguez went on a roll during his spree. He broke New York's record for most retail theft arrests with a whopping 46 and was arrested 57 times total in 2021. Those arrests included several other charges, including some violent ones. However, Rodriguez kept getting thrown back on the street. The police commissioner blamed new bail reform laws for the spike in crime. The items the klepto king chose to steal were the weirdest part. He lifted random things like soap, baby formula, and lingerie. Rodriguez often came to the same store several times in one day. Walgreens alone felt the wrath of the king 37 times in 1 year. How he carried out his crimes was pretty interesting. Rodriguez had no elaborate plan or scheme to fall back on. Instead, he just walked into a store and began filling a bag up. When it was full, the King of Thieves walked on out like he owned the place. The king finally landed in jail when a judge set his bail at $15,000. Good luck stealing and reselling enough body lotion to pay that off. Number 3. Grand Theft Gucci. Ekaterina Zarkova, California resident, loved luxury so much that she was arrested twice for stealing a ridiculous amount of designer goods. Zarkova's scheme was relatively simple. She walked into a TJ Maxx or Nordstrom in Orange County. Zarkova whipped out empty shopping bags and filled them up when no one was looking. She kept this up for over a month without any real resistance and made off with thousands worth of designer products. She might have kept going unchecked if the investigator that witnessed her crimes wasn't in the right place at the right time. Zarkova wasn't just stealing the products to feel like an heiress with a large inheritance. Her plans were more entrepreneurial in nature. She took all her stolen items and tried to sell them on an online consignment store. If she hadn't been caught, she could have made a lot of money doing so. Zarkova stole over $300,000 worth of designer products from TJ Maxx and Nordstrom in the short month she was operating. Her spree was ended by an investigator who caught her red-handed and arrested her. Apparently, this wasn't Zarkova's first dance with the law. She had been arrested in March for a similar crime. In that instance, she was caught with over $950 in products and a tool to remove tags from items. She was released on a $20,000 bail and ordered to appear in court for her arraignment. When Zarkova didn't show for her first court date, a judge issued a warrant for her arrest. The authorities also got a warrant for her car and apartment where they found her secret stash of products. This prompted another arrest and a much steeper bail set at $320,000. Zarkova was charged with 4 felony counts of grand theft, 7 misdemeanor counts of petty theft, and 1 felony count of receiving stolen property. If convicted on all charges, she could get 9 years in prison. The Orange County District Attorney, Todd Spitzer, seemed fired up by the situation and put out a stern warning to any would-be criminals. He expressed that these crimes were not victimless. If anyone commits these acts under his watch, they will be arrested and prosecuted. Number 2. Integrity Control Officer. NYPD Sergeant Eva Pena must have thought she was above the law. On an average September night in 2019, Pena strolled into a Macy's department store and decided the brand name clothing she wanted was too expensive to pay for. Instead of putting it back on the rack, CCTV footage captured her removing the price tags and stuffing the clothing in her purse. Her haul? 6 different items from Guess and Tommy Hilfiger, totaling $360. Here's the kicker. As a sergeant in the NYPD, Pena made just over $100,000 per year overseeing the Bronx Housing Authority. According to the New York Post, her role involved integrity control officer, and she'd recommend punishments for those beneath her who committed small small infractions. She also posed for pictures with Commissioner James O'Neill at a recent police event. Did she really think she was above the law, or did she have some kind of leverage on O'Neill? Leverage enough to warrant petty theft she clearly could have afforded? Loss prevention officers at Macy's caught Pena red-handed on CCTV. They detained her in a security office and called the police. About an hour later, Pena was suspended from her role with the NYPD. The following Friday, Pena drove herself to court in a white Mercedes-Benz with a $1,000 Louis Vuitton in hand. Perhaps flaunting her wealth could actually help her case? If people see how well off she is, maybe they'd question why she'd shoplift in the first place. Either way, she walked into the courtroom with a wide smile, stood by her lawyer's side, and pleaded not guilty. Number 1. San Fran shoplifting queen. In just 13 months, Aziza Graves was arrested and charged after shoplifting from Target 120 times, making off with over $40,000 worth of products during her crime spree. She used the self-checkout lane, paid between 1 cent and $1, then left before the sale was completed. Police finally caught up to her in November of 2021, but a judge released her on bail. The judge requested she wear an ankle bracelet, but the shoplifting queen of San Francisco had other ideas. She never wore the ankle bracelet and went right back to stealing. Thankfully, she didn't get far. Police caught her in the act a month later. This time, they insisted that Aziza be held without bail. Clearly, she has no intentions of being an upstanding citizen. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section who you would rather kick off an island: social media influencers or fake business gurus.